Man, what it do, my people out there? Shout out to all the folks that's rocking with the life of a multifacet. This is your host, your boy, DeMarcus, aka Marco. Appreciate y'all for tapping in with me. And as I told y'all, for this episode, we're gonna get straight into it. It's talking about the survival mode, the survival instinct. And for myself, and where I'm at 29 years old, and I turn 30 next month, which I'm super excited for. I'm always excited for each year that I get a chance to see another. Each year that I get a chance to see another year, every day that I get a chance to see another day, because the way in which I look at life is different in how I move. Because oftentimes, by me putting myself out there, by me being able to navigate uncomfortable situations, it's allowed me to see life and move differently than a lot of my predecessors. Than a lot of a lot of situations that people before me were a part of. And oftentimes these people can be, again, our elders. It can be folks that we've networked with, people that are mentors, and how we navigate life oftentimes can be based on the stories that we hear from people that come before us. So that's what a predecessor is. A predecessor comes before. It refers to a person who held a position before someone else, or a thing that came before in time, order, or development. So that can be anything. That can just be somebody living, somebody that's helping to navigate life in a certain type of way. It can be your parent. That can be someone that was in. Oftentimes, people can use the terminology whenever they're in a certain type of career. Somebody that had the title before them. But the point that I'm making is that oftentimes when we're navigating life, it can be because of the people that come before us. Now, when we think about survival mentality, oftentimes that survival is going to be based off of their instincts as well. So when we think about, let's talk about for my life. I got a father that comes from the hood and a mother that comes from the project. So, I mean, in where my dad grew up, it was projects, but, and how you would describe it, like they both come from low income housing, but my dad comes from a rougher environment, right? So when you think about for both of them, when it comes to a survival type of instinct, and oftentimes you'll hear like, I think Jeezy said it, you hear some other rappers and people say it, but it's like that survivor's remorse. When you're going through like the survival's remorse is I would say, let's see, let me make sure I'm getting that right definition for y'all. So survival's remorse is a psychological condition where an individual feels profound guilt or emotional distress for surviving a traumatic event or tragedy while others did not. So let's separate the two, because I don't want to shift away from my thought process. When we think about survival mode and survival instinct, oftentimes that's your mind figuring out, how do I keep succeeding or moving forward during tough times? The survival's remorse comes from a lot of folks where they've been able to get to a certain type of level and then others hadn't. So that's where that guilt comes in. But first, we're going to go to the survival instinct. The survival instinct, especially from people like my parents and family members, when you think about folks growing up in the South or wherever you grew up in, my family has come from the South, especially with like the conditions that folks are in, how life was. When you think about less opportunities, poverty, and stuff like that, that was very common, especially for different Black families. But there also was a ton of Black wealth. What we got to think about when it comes to history, a lot of that Black wealth was taken from us, snatched, erased, and everything. So it forced people to be in unfortunate circumstances. Now, when you think about navigating the world because of environments that our folks come from, you're going to have the survival instinct or impact to be able to push through and get it by any means. So as we mold from children into adults, oftentimes that's going to be pushed onto us. Why? Because that's all they've ever known. How do you survive? How do you do the simple things to be able to move forward and have a good, simple life? And oftentimes good and simple can just be being able to pay the bills, being able to live day by day. Now, when we think about the times that we're in, I'm literally on the cusp of a millennial and Gen Z. We think about where we are, like our mindsets have shifted because we've been able to see life in a different type of way. But also we've been able to be exposed to more opportunity and resources. Now, one could argue that even during, we'll say, the baby boomers and Gen X times, that the resources were there. It just depends on how you shift your mind. We can argue and say that that's the same way today in how you decide to go about the information. But when we think about as far as resilience and pushing through, I will say in our parents' generations, it was forced more because you only knew what you knew. Now, as you continue to evolve, people do have to adjust with the time. So when we think about the survival instinct, I don't think that you have to necessarily move mentally in the way that our parents moved before. But I think that there are ways in which you can evolve, but there's still some principles that from their times are important to have in today's world. For myself, when I think about my survival instinct, especially when it comes to how I navigate life, there's often that time where your mindset is like, hey, I don't want to go back. I don't want to run into this situation again. Hey, I don't want to have that same type of hurt that I had before. And so your mind goes into this state of trying to overprotect itself, the same way in which I would describe a keloid, right? Like for keloids on my skin, the reason why somebody gets a keloid is because your skin is producing too much collagen. So that means that it's trying to overprotect itself and it's overhealing. So oftentimes when you get a bruise, that means your skin is trying to protect that scar, that bruise. So it's creating impact on top of that scar. So it's overhealing. That's the same way we do when we think about impact and when we think about trying to get past that survival mode. We are trying to protect ourselves from the healing that we've been able to provide or the healing that we've been able to obtain. And we're trying to put a double bandage on that to protect ourselves. Now, what happens in that moment? Oftentimes, when it comes to relaxing or taking your mind off of the things that stress you, sometimes you're creating even more stress for yourself than when you were in that stress mode. Hear me out. Sometimes you're creating even more stress for yourself than when you were in that actual stress mode. And the reason being is because all your mind is used to is how do I survive? How do I get through? But how do I also protect this and don't go back to where I was at before? But what generations does that come from the most? Baby boomers and the Gen X. Because oftentimes when you think about for them, it was focused on getting married and having a family. So when you have these other layers involved, oftentimes for them, they've got to think about how am I going to protect the people that I love and care about? It's not just about me anymore. As opposed to our generations, we're taking our time to say, yeah, when we have kids and a wife or a spouse, however, whatever your life is, like whenever I have a wife and kids, yeah, I got to think in that same type of way. But then also, I, in a sense, can have a bit more freedom and flexibility because of the different ways in which I'm able to support my family. I will say nowadays, I do think it's harder as far as from a financial standpoint because the expenses of the world. I think as far as how the housing markets, how different things have went up, that's going to be a lot more tougher than it was for folks back then because of how inexpensive things were then compared to now. But when you think about as far as that survival piece, I think there are more resources where you don't have to go through the struggles in the same way in which folks did before. Now, when it comes to that survival instinct or that survival mode, what I'm learning for myself is pretty much what I told you all. DeMarcus, you don't have to make it as hard as you're making it. And just because things may change or you may see a little bit of a difference, that by no means is saying to yourself that you fell off in any type of way. The only way that you fall off is if you're not doing anything or if you're not progressing or if you if you just let yourself go. But oftentimes for myself, I'm way more ahead than I even think that I am. But it's just those conscious things in your mind of just saying, I don't want to go back. But you got to realize for yourself that it's just like with social media, there's reality versus non-reality. Something can look good on social media, but when you think, or something can be said on social media, when you think about the real world, the true things are going to show up. The same thing if I'm going to the gym. Just because I don't have abs doesn't mean that I don't have um, I don't have a great core. It can just be hidden over top of that because I could be putting more emphasis on a certain type of area than I did before. But oftentimes, because of certain layers that are put in front of us, because of certain blockers that we've been told that we should have, a lot of things are missed. I have a strong core, but because I've been told that you got to, or you, because we've thought that you got to have visible abs to show that you actually have a strong core. Well, in my mind, it may be like, okay, DeMarcus, you ain't where you should be. But in reality, that just means that I just may have to work on the other areas. But whenever I'm working and doing planks, I done get it to where I could do a plank for 2 minutes. Even when I was more slim, even when I had a lesser weight and stuff on my body, I wasn't able to do that. I wasn't able to do 2 minute wall sits easily. I wasn't able to do continuous push ups and everything. Like pull ups is still a bit hard for me because of my weight, but all these other things, calisthenics and all that, I wasn't able to do before on that type of level. And I weighed more than I did at those points. But you know, if something for myself, even last year when I was going through all the weight loss and I got down to my lowest, I started picking up some pounds because of water weight and because of uh, sodium tension in the body. I said, man, let me just go ahead and do a few planks. Each and every time that I would do the plank, I would do the push-ups, I would do the wall sits. Man, I was doing it so easy. There would be times where I was splurging, eating some sweets, eating crazy carbs, and I would still, even right after that, be able to do longer planks than I did some days when I was fasting and real lean. Why? Because that glycogen. Why? Because my muscles were full. Why? Because my body was able to hold on to more and allow me to give myself more energy. And I'm saying all this to bring the example home to say, oftentimes because things change or because things may look familiar, we think as if it's the same version of us as before. Because I may see myself in the mirror, and oftentimes the mirror is going to be the place where you have the most it's going to be the place where you have the strongest reaction towards yourself, the most criticism. And a lot of times in that mirror, things can look familiar, but you got to keep looking at yourself in that mirror and truly embrace what's in front of that. Because when I look at myself in the mirror, and I may think that I look similar as far as times when I may pick up weight that I did before, but there's no way, because when I think about the muscle I've been able to obtain, when I think about the kilos that I had before, when I think about the times where I suffered with acne when I was younger, when I suffered with scalp issues, when I think about the clothes that I tried to put on before and how uncomfortable it felt, when I think about all that and I look at where I'm at now, there's no way it's the same. But oftentimes that one blocker that can typically for folks be your stomach, can be that fat, that one blocker can stop you from looking at all the other areas for yourself and appreciate those other areas. It's the same thing when we think about for job wise or whatever. There can be that one thing that can stop you from appreciating all the other dope things that you're doing. And that one thing that you focus on is the one area that you feel like if you're going to slip up, it's going to take you back to where you were before. But it's not. And I'm constantly training my mind to understand and to reflect on, DeMarcus, you taking some time away or you getting readjusted, it's just that. You're readjusting. Your body is getting used to the new. Hell, I was sick for a bit. I just got a keloid surgery done. So when you're getting cut on the body, that's your body having to readjust. Blood flows and things are changing. Hell, I got a new gig. I've had some other dope things that have happened in my life. Man, that's a lot for your mind and body to get adjusted to, especially when you had 2.5 years when you was at one of the most craziest points in your life in New York City. DeMarcus, what the hell are you talking about? So this is me even holding myself accountable, because it's oftentimes where I'll look at the worst case scenarios and just be like, man, what are we doing? But sometimes it is hard to register. Even what I'm saying is sometimes it can be hard for it to register, because it's like, I think that the mind is just like, as you get to a new stage when things were uncomfortable, it's a shock. 2.5 years compared to me being out of that mode for 3 months, 3 to 4 months is a lot different. Because I literally had to walk multiple miles down past Church Ave, which probably took me about an hour and so back walking to go get my security license. when I barely even had any money, and then had to go in and sit in security classes. Then I had to take time to go through different security jobs, barely getting paid anything, but still finding a way to keep myself going. But the thing is that I can't forget about those moments, but it's constantly learning that it don't have to be the same way that it was. And by it not being the same way that it was, it's just that concept of working smarter, not harder. And something that kind of just fell in my lap in a way where it helped me to understand it even more. I literally was still doing security jobs when I first started this new role that I'm in, because I'm like, man, I'm trying to maximize on the amount of money that I can get. So smart thinking and like, hey, get as much income as you can, like let it work for you. But then I had to understand, where am I trading my time? And I say that, and I want to take a pause there, because in trading your time, I've realized there has to be value in that. It has to make sense in what I'm trading my time for. While I was doing the security work, and I'm gonna have all those videos and stuff eventually dropping in. Y'all been able to hear it as I've done my podcast. While I was doing the security jobs, what was I able to do? I was able to do my content, right? I was focused strictly on the content. So all those times where I was sitting there for those 8-hour shifts, I'm working on my brands, and then I'm also working on editing the videos. Okay, it's cool. You just sitting there and you being able to, while you're doing that, you getting paid for it. But at the same time, you may have to work at odd hours. You could just be wanting to rest and getting away from that. I could maybe just want to go to the gym at a certain point. There's a trade-off that you're getting. And though it was beneficial for me and been in my brand, still, when you look at it for maybe $100 $100 a shift, it really wasn't worth it. And what really made it not worth it is, for the last job that I did, man, that was where there was fiends and people doing drugs and stuff all up in the spot, people being reckless, coming and banging on the door, trying to, start stuff with me. And I wasn't scared or nothing like that, but I was just like, man, I'm just over here so frustrated with this, and I'm having to go in and try to, the people that's giving you the security shifts is giving you a hard time because you're trying to I was like, man, it feel good to take a break. I still got my license, so if I find an event that I can do out here that's going to pay me a good amount of money, I'd rather do that than sit there and work for chump change when I ain't got to. Okay, yeah, I can get $100 a shift here, but it's like I'm gonna be putting in multiple hours just to get paid a few $100s a week. When in reality, what I really need to do is maximize the time that I have outside of work, put that towards my brands, and get my brands moving. Let me focus on now, like I told y'all, for me for March, it's like, okay, I've been thinking about it for January, February. Now let me put a system together so when summertime comes, I'm able to actually do more events. Let me actually get events and stuff popping to the point to where that can be something that I love doing, and that can be way more hands off than the security, where I'm making way more if I want to do something for a side gig. Because that's something I want to take to the next level. Let me focus on that. But also in me saying all this, guess what I wasn't thinking about? DeMarcus, you barely had any money in your pockets. You were struggling financially for a few years. Now you got some money in your pockets where you can actually work with something. You not really doing as much as you think with content, even though you're doing a lot of stuff, bro. You're navigating a whole new job, and you actually got money in your pockets. You don't have just security money. You got some nice tech dollars now. Like, embrace that. I'm like, I had to look at myself and be like, yeah, DeMarcus, you're right. And this is me having conversations with myself, but also somebody that reiterated that to me was my dad as well. He's like, man, you ain't gotta sit, man, like, you ain't gotta sit there and do that. Take some time away, enjoy yourself. And for me, in the survival mode, like, I'm always want to take it to a next level because in me being in New York and in me going after my goals, my story and how I want to move is a lot different than people before me. But there's a lot of lessons that you can take, and there's a lot of things that people have been through where life may have been different for them, but the lessons still are meaningful and matter. Hey, DeMarcus, take some time away. Like, why are you focused on? You ain't got to sit there and do that. Yeah, it was cool getting your money, but you passed that now. You're right. So let me take it to the next level. If I really need to do security work, if I want to do security work to get some extra bucks, let me do it on my own time. Let me work with people that got events. Like I'm in my networking bag. I've been able to do a lot of dope things where it's like, okay, I'm connecting with people and putting the pieces of the puzzle together. I ain't made necessarily no money from some of these different things that I've been doing recently, but I'm building connections and I'm building a lot of I'm building a bucket of information where like once things start to click even more, I'm locked in. Even in my job, focusing on fraud protection and payments, I'm speaking with people and I'm learning how folks are moving in their businesses. I'm seeing things that people are going through. So it's different for a lot of other people that may just be coming to the job and working and just saying, hey, I'm just working for the check, or I'm embracing this company that I'm working for. It's dope, the company that I'm working for, but I'm thinking brand. I'm thinking, okay, each and every business person that I speak with, I'm trying to figure out how are they actually having these conversations internally. Who are they speaking with? Who are their stakeholders? If it's a brand that just got started, okay, and how much revenue are they actually bringing in? Okay, what are they actually doing? I'm seeing the frustrations that they may go through, the chargebacks that they experience. Okay, once my brand is able to scale, I got to think about, okay, is this something that I should implement in my business? Hey, I'm meeting different people that have their own brands. Hey, this is somebody that's on the ground and I get a chance to speak to in New York. Let me build that connect outside of work because I'm already helping them to bring through this for their business. Let me connect with them on an even deeper level, right? That's where my mind's got to go, and that's where my mind's been going. So that survival piece is due to trauma. It's due to us just being having different things that are passed down, but it's also due to us not wanting to go back to where we were before. And we should have aspects of that, but it shouldn't be taking over our whole world. There's oftentimes for me, even in trauma, where because I have people treated me, there can be that survival instinct to say, you know what, like I got to be able to hold certain things off because I don't want other people to treat me like that. But I've also learned it's like DeMarcus, part of the reason why you may feel like that is because you were overextending to certain people. Yes, those people may have treated you a certain way. Those people slept on you, whatever. Like that don't mean that they ain't shit or whatever. But that also is where you have to hold yourself accountable to DeMarcus to say you may have overextended there. So in people that you may meet or come into your space, they don't mean that you got to necessarily hide who you are, or that doesn't mean that you have to not open up parts about yourself, but allow people to ease into that. Allow people to show you a bit of who they are, and allow people to be able to kind of lead the way before you always have to be the one that does that. That don't mean that you can't be who DeMarcus is, but that also means that the biggest thing is you should be able to put yourself at the forefront. Stop giving everybody else your time. Stop putting so much energy emotionally into each and everybody else. It's time for you to be able to be selfish about you and pour into the ones that matter. Pour into the ones that actually are locked in with you. Now, once people show that, then you can be able to give that other energy, but still don't do it at the cost of not taking care of yourself. And that all comes into the survival instinct. And with survival's remorse, there can be oftentimes like where people may feel a guilt because of how they're moving. And I would say I won't necessarily have felt a guilt, but there's this weird feeling of like, especially when I see like Facebook and folks back home and stuff like that. Again, it's not a guilt, but it's this feeling of like, dang, I'm moving in such a different direction where I can feel an isolation, and I can feel like I'm on an island by myself and feel like I'm alone in my journey. And oftentimes I can come across that with people. That's not a bad thing, but it's just because of my goals and my alignment and where I'm at in my life. It's just different. I've been outpacing people. And oftentimes for myself, I think I would try to lower where I was or try to be too humble because I didn't want to make other people feel as if I didn't want other people to try to feel as if I was doing better than them or whatever. But hey, you ain't got to be out here bragging, but shit is what it is. Like if I'm moving at a pace, if I'm actually putting time and energy into myself and actually working through traumas, putting all this self work in, if I'm getting to a higher level or getting to a place faster or whatever it is, like I got to give myself that credit. It ain't about going out here and bragging, talking about who you're doing better than or whatever. But if we putting stuff on the table, like it just is what it is. Like I put in that work, and I should be able to celebrate that. I'm going to celebrate that. And if people give me the praise for where I'm at, and they say, "Hey, DeMarcus, you're doing way better than I am," it's like it's my job to say, I may be in a different type of place. I'm not better than you are. If a person feels that I'm doing better than them, that's for them to say. I don't know what, in a sense, me doing better, what that's on somebody else to feel it, whatever. But my job is to be like, hey, like what I'm doing, you can do as well too. I put in the work and the time, but it's never to lessen my story. It's to say, you know what, like, hey, you can do this too. I have put in the work to get here. That doesn't say that you're lesser than me at all. Like I'm no better than the next person. But me being here, yeah, I put in the work to get here. Like I told y'all about the guy that I had went to high school with. He's like, man, DeMarcus, you're doing better than me. I'm like, nah. I said, we all like, look, we all doing dope things in life. Coming from where we come from in a small town and being able to see people doing that, that's what it's about. Now, if you in your mind think that I'm doing better than you because I'm in New York City or whatever, like, hey, that's on you. Like being in New York, like there's a type of work ethic and a type of discipline that I've instilled that many people haven't. I've had friends and stuff that have lived in the city before me and surviving in the way that I have. Not everybody has done that. And so for the results that I'm able to get and how I've been able to build myself up, a lot of people will never see that. And I do hold myself to a high level and do commend myself because of the work that I put in. If somebody wanted to be disrespectful and come at me a certain type of way, then we got to have a real conversation and really put shit on the line. But stuff shouldn't even have to get to that point. But where I'm at isn't because it was a handout given to me, because somebody just threw me this opportunity. I had to really put in the work. So when people want to understand how I'm able to survive in New York, how I've been able to get here, it's truly because of the trials and tribulations, but also because of my belief in God, and not just me believing in God, but me aligning myself and listening and continuing to push myself through uncomfortable situations. Oftentimes people will see New York and be like, man, you survive in New York. It's more than just surviving New York. Like the lifestyle I've been able to achieve for myself, and there's still so many different things that I want to improve on. There's so many debts and stuff that I still got to knock down. But where I'm sitting at in this seat at this moment, it's more than just all DeMarcus lives in New York. Oh, okay, you push through, and no, like people won't understand. They can go to the podcast and listen to the episodes, which many people are not going to do. But if they truly want to be able to see where I was and where I've gotten to now, they better for sure go back and check on every single episode of the life of a multifacet. And the real ones that's been locked in with me, like the ones that are truly part of my journey, they know what it's about because I know what their situations is about. I know what their life's been about. And it may not be New York for them, but they put in some hellified work. I done had some friends that wanted to take their lives. I done had people that wanted to give up. I've had people that they've been confused. I've been confused about life paths and everything like that. But the thing that continues to bring us full circle is the spirit, our belief, and not giving up and having that community and that unity. Every person around me is faith driven in some type of way. In some type of way, there's been a point to where somebody has talked about God, if it's Allah, if it's a belief that they have in a higher power. There's a way in which everybody believes that there's something that's greater than them that's guiding them. Everybody isn't the most spiritually led person where they going to church all the time, going to the mosque, going to going to the Catholic centers, but in how their lives are moving, and even in the shifts, we're all having some type of conversation about the spirit touching them in some type of way, and that's what allows me to continue to sit in the seat and move forward. So as I'm even talking, I feel like this might be one of my most powerful episodes that I've ever made because it's talking about that survival piece and me navigating how to be able to appreciate things. I still got a lot of work that I want to put in, and there's going to be a lot of grind I'm going to be putting in this summer with my brand. But it's having fun with it and being able to level up along the way. You know how many people I done talked about the tech spaces and all these other things too? People weren't listening. People asking me how I'm able to be able to live in New York. I have my own 1 bedroom in New York, in Brooklyn. I went out there and got that. Shout out to the love from my family to be able to support me in my tough time, but that ain't money that they have. That ain't just like, there ain't just no grant or just no fund out here that's just giving free money. Like, I've had to, you know what I'm saying? I had to get back. My rent was thousands of dollars behind, and I've gotten back. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not just no simple type of thing where the markets is just living and it's just all like, it's just all fun. Like, I ain't got the type of money just to be living somewhere and I can choose where I want it to be at, but it ain't just no thing where it's just like, hey, we living in New York City and just it's super, super lavish where you can just spend thousands and thousands of dollars. No, a big part of it is the grind. But outside from the grind, I've been able to learn how to be able to embrace it to the full capacity. And I love where I'm at. I can't wait till I level up even more, locking these commission checks, locking stuff on my brand to where I can truly travel debt free, travel freely, and just be able to truly do what I want and buy literally anything that I want at any moment. But then also be able to give back money at any moment. Be able to have thousands of dollars or hundreds of dollars where I can be able to put into community stuff, pour back into scholarship. I have so many different goals that I want to achieve, and so many things that I set out for myself. And as I continue to do that, I know that in my heart and spirit, I'll be able to get back in the right ways. But also in my heart and spirit, I got to be able to give the energy back to myself first before I can give it to everybody else. And in this season, I've been doing that. Cut off situations, friendships, relationships, navigated different folks, navigated different experiences, all this type of stuff. Because you can't even just put it into one bucket. Like, it's just not just people. It could be, environments. It can be communities. All these different things. As I continue to evolve, I can say for myself, I've navigated so many uncomfortable scenarios, and this is just at 29 from me going through my 20s. There's going to be more things in life that's going to be difficult to navigate. But for me, learning these lessons, I feel like at 29, up to 29 years old, many people haven't got to this point in their life. And many people have told me, like, DeMarcus, you way ahead of the curve. Like, you're moving at a pace to where people that's older than you have never even touched. That's cool to hear. You know what I'm saying? It's not an ego thing for me. It's just like, hey, we've gotten past that point of hearing that all the time. People won't do what they do if they don't want to take time to work on it because of age or whatever. That's besides the point. When you got the resources in front of you, when you want something that's different, when you feel in your body and spirit that it's time to level up and try to make some adjustments, or it's time to be able to evolve, it's time to do that. Like, if I truly want better for myself and I'm tired of the same old things happening, I've got to make some adjustments. It might be uncomfortable, but if on the other side of uncomfortability is going to open up a door that can make me feel super happy about myself and feel fulfilled, I got to do that. If I believe in my mind that, like, this is the path. And for New York, that was it. For where I'm at in my life now, New York was it. I had to push through. Even the uncomfortable piece would be me having to spend time paying off some debts, maybe not having as much money from each and every paycheck that I wanted to. But for me, that was way more fulfilling and way more, I was going to be way more happy than if I would have moved back home and gave up everything. Leaving my apartment, having to go back home and try to figure everything out, being in the same environment. That would have been devastating. I knew that wasn't meant for me. And that's why I don't take this for granted. I don't take any of the people in my life for granted. And for the ones that I don't connect with and stuff as much as I used to anymore, like, it is what it is. Like, I don't have any regrets with that stuff. I don't feel bad because I know the energy and the time that DeMarcus puts into people and the love and care that I've extended, even when I didn't have an ounce of energy left in my body, and I still gave it to people. So I don't even have regrets in how I've showed up for folks. Like, hey, I don't have regrets in how I've overextended myself. You know, if it's a woman that I tried to holler at multiple times and she was curving me and I had to learn, like, I don't have any type of regrets to that, because that allowed me to understand now where I'm at to say, hey, DeMarcus, if somebody showed you that they don't want you, you gotta move on to the next. Like, you don't keep on hitting up no women and that's trying to make you what's the terminology? That's trying to force you to put in work for her own ego. It's like, no, like, you got too many women that have shown you, I don't like to say it like that, but you have women in your life that have shown you, that have been beautiful, that have had great attributes about themselves, that you ain't gonna put in that type of work just to try to prove who you are based off of ego. Like, people out there are actually willing to sit down and listen to who you are, get to know who you are, and actually appreciate you without you having to settle for less than who you are. Like, there's people out here that want to understand and to evolve with a DeMarcus, want to understand the DeMarcus, want to find some way in which they can relate to a DeMarcus, because a DeMarcus is something that they need to complement who they are. That's how I feel about the people in my life. Like, the more that I actually take time to listen even further, the more that I continue to share my stories. It allows me to create space for others to open up. And that's a true gift of mine. Because of my authenticity and my vulnerability and how I'm able to show up for myself, it allows other people to actually feel that, and it makes them feel comfortable in opening themselves up. So that creates such a deep alignment in being able to navigate the world, but then also growing as an individual. So I know this was a very deep episode. I didn't even plan for it to get this far, nor did I plan for it to get to close to 40 minutes, but I'm just talking off the dome and just sharing about my life. And this is why I created a life of a multifacet, because I knew I had a lot to be able to navigate and share. And within my perspectives and my experiences, I know how it feels to feel left out, for people to be hanging on others and then putting you to the side. You know, you not feeling people being a part of groups and cliques and not hearing you out. You know, people, somebody could do something way worse than you did, but it's like they're putting way more emphasis on what you. I've been through all that, man. And a big part of me going through some of those situations is because I gave way more time to others and overextended myself versus giving some of that time to me. And there's going to be moments that no matter what, you're going to pour into the wrong environments. It's the human nature to do that, because you learn things along the way. But the biggest key is, once you learn and once you experience it, how many times are you going to continue to allow it and continue to move forward with it? If somebody continues to show you who they are, when are you going to say, I heard you, versus try to deny it or try to take up for them? When people show you who they are, believe it. So it's your boy DeMarcus, man. This is Life of a Multifacet. Again, follow your boy on Instagram, that man Marco, and Mashing Up with Marco. Both of those pages are also on the ticker, the TikToker. And my YouTube page is the Multifacets of DeMarcus. Tap in with your boy. We're about to run this content up. I got a lot of dope things coming. And I'm saying this to myself, and this message is for y'all as I'm speaking to myself. DeMarcus, stop focusing on the survival mode so much. Stop feeling as if because things may change that you've fallen off, because you haven't, and give yourself more grace and appreciation for all the dope things that you are doing, and take a step back at times to say, man, I'm way further ahead than I ever wanted to be, and I still have a lot more goals that I want to achieve, but where I'm at is so dope. Let's create a strategy to simplify things and work smarter, not harder. Everything ain't got to be chaos, and everything ain't got to be stressful. Just because it's not, that does not mean you ain't putting in work, or does not mean that you're not in a great place. So that's your boy DeMarcus. That was a little letter to myself, or a few sentences. I'm up out of here. Peace.